Okay, so thank you to our panelists. We are going to now transition to the Q&A session. So if there are any questions, raise your hand and I'll bring you the mic.
Hi, thank you all. I thought these were extraordinarily insightful presentations, and certainly we're hearing things that we haven't heard in this room in a long time. So thank you for coming and doing this. What struck me in your 4 presentations was the importance of finding new networks. And I think when you're comfortable networking, you don't become self-reflecting on what's involved in moving from one network to another. And I was wondering if you could just give us some insight in the particular point where you're moving from your academic network into non-academic networks, what it takes, and how you find those networks.
Well, I'll say something because I don't actually have anything to say about how I found my networks, but I now teach in 2 professional schools, and I have a regular appointment in one, and I'm impressed with, their focus on teaching us as professors how to teach, but more to your point, internships, placements, there's a whole office connected with, and I think this is typical of professional schools, including business schools, of helping students get out and find placements. I am 45 years removed from this institution. I'd be surprised if that's what happens in the humanities at Michigan or most other places. So it's just a thought about a way that the school can help graduate students do that networking.
I can add a couple little tidbits from the media side of things, and that is I think that social media has opened up pathways for people to find each other, and by that, for me, Twitter, I was both found and have found a community of collaborators through Twitter, people who are engaging in similar type of questions and explorations. And here I'm not talking just like scholarship, but I'm trying to recover the past. How do we talk about the past? What are different formats for doing it? And so that's one space to kind of go out and find it. We had this panel at the OAH a year and a half ago, and one of the interesting things about social media is find out who are the good followers among those that you admire in terms of the kinds of things that they write about and how they engage the public, because they can model it for you, and oftentimes they will bring you right in, because we are looking for people to build bridges with and to form, friendships with, like connections, and not in the digital kind of, we're connected, but like, actual face-to-face connections that then we can build out that way. The other thing, and this is why I've included the photo of Dick Clark and Larry Lester, was a reminder, there are a lot of people who are already doing this kind of labor of love work out there. And it's our task to literally tap into communities and ask questions. And man, Dick Clark and Larry Lester brought me in as a graduate student who's interested on the Negro Leagues. Come on over, and really helped train me in both how to do Negro League research, but also how to connect with people, and that is those who are in the community doing the work.
My take would be that I think it starts with a conversation which you have had. I always want to build on what people are already doing well. Build on the faculty-student conversation you guys have already had, and try to get a map of what kind of interests students have, what kind of possibilities they might want to pursue, and then do some matchmaking. I'm pretty sure that today's graduate student is different from me back in 2003 to 8. They can, Google stuff and establish kind of possibilities of a network that they might want to be part of. And then I don't think it's the correct approach to leave it all to students. They already have quite a ton expected of them. But at that point, the students and faculty would then bring it into a more institutional setting where these kinds of possibilities can be institutionalized systematically, and to approach some of these organizations and so networks for partnerships, possible partnerships. One example that I have is an organization called EPIC. It's composed of ethnographers that decided to go into the tech sector as design researchers. I was having a very interesting conversation with former PhDs who just decided, you know what, we want to impact tech in a humane way and design in sustainability from the onset so that we don't have to deal with the waste later on, a polluted world later on. This is an idea that starts in a seminar. Why do we build very toxic materials? How do we stop? And from there it goes to these kinds of possibilities. And when I don't think that, and this is a bearing now on which kind of conferences students can attend. I love the AHA, I love the African Studies Association, but I no longer go there in part because I'm going to simply meet other historians or other people who study stuff and don't do anything at all, quite frankly. I was looking for something else. And that something else, I think, is where some of the opportunities can come from.
Yeah, I would echo that as well. And even while in graduate school, I don't know if I said where I started in '89. While in graduate school, we were going to those kinds of spaces that were non-academic spaces. Yes, we went to the OAH and the AHA, but one of the things we did was to go to a reunion of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. So at the time, folks had just started talking about the role of women in the civil rights movement. Barbara Ransby, who graduated from here, was one of the key figures in that, and she was an informal mentor of a lot of us who had been student activists. And going to that reunion was like one of the most important experiences during graduate school. I mean, we met these people that we were studying about, that we had thought we were modeling our student activism on, and they welcomed us and were excited that there were young people who were interested in telling these stories and being in some ways, you know, accountable to elders who were willing to share their knowledge with us. So yeah, I would agree with going, whatever your interest is, figure out. I mean, I was lucky that I was studying folks who were still alive, although that was highly frowned upon, I think, in the department. But you know, whatever your topic is, like what are the other sources of knowledge on that topic outside of academia? What conferences can you go to? What organizations can you join? And kind of just be present, offer your services. You know, if there's something that needs to get done that you know how to do, something that, you know, a community-based group that needs some research, you know. Show your value and a humility, and be willing to learn from folks who don't have PhDs.
Can I just build on Tracy's point 1 second? It's a small thought that occurs to me. When I left here and became a journalist, I did all the reading I could in my stories. I was scared to death of talking to people. You actually have a great potential tool, which is oral history. What about making students, or at least highly encouraging them, to get out of Ann Arbor and do some oral history? It would be a great way to teach, to help them learn the network.
Yeah.
All right, sorry. We have time for one more question. David, I think I saw your hand earlier.
Yeah, so I have I'm really struck by Tracy's question where you asked, how will departments have to change structurally to make possible this world in which, you know, we're investing in students so that students can do what students want to do. And the question that I'm thinking also is, you asked, you know, would a history department hire me? And I'm thinking, this could be crazy, I don't know, but like, do departments have to be organized by discipline? I think that that's something that we're kind of like veering around that question of like, what will be the role of disciplinary evaluation of knowledge? What will the doctor of philosophy mean in history if what we're talking about now is evaluating the value of this knowledge in a different way, like not just contributing an original piece to the knowledge pool that is like your little node on that little circle. I think you've seen that image. So I'm just kind of curious about like what you all think disciplines and disciplinary evaluation of knowledge. Like what does that have to do? Like could we have departments that are not like I don't know. That's just something I'm thinking about right now. Okay.
Right, so I have been thinking a lot about this. Part of the book that I'm writing now, out of the experience I'm having in Zimbabwe, is called Training Critical Thinker Doers. At the end of the day, what I really want a student to have is not mono skill. The problem with the curriculum, the university system we have, especially in the liberal arts colleges, is that I think it's a 19th century, 20th century model, which is driven by an Enlightenment, post-Enlightenment tradition, which celebrates a kind of mono-skilled tunnel. And that affects your tunnel of vision on your way out. If you go through a tube, when you go out, just before you get out, you are seeing the world through a tube. You are looking out there, silhouette you see the tube. It's conditioned by, and I am not very sure that is going to be very helpful in a 21st century defined by digital intervention. Because, and so the question then becomes, what kind of, and I've heard the argument about digital humanities. I'm not very sure I buy it. We need to do more than just what we are calling digital humanities. It's becoming a cliche now. In part because the question becomes, what has changed with the digital that requires, and it requires what of students? And I think it requires to go beyond a mono-skill towards a multi-skill path. How do we do this? Am I legislating for the dissolution of the history department? No, I'm not, initially. Initially, what we might have to do as universities is to find centers, establish centers where all disciplines can come and impact each other. And so that students, and to embrace a kind of collaborative ethic where students come into this and contribute to a larger communal. And from my observations in Germany, if you look at the way the Africa Multiple Cluster at Bayreuth University is going about it, it's called the Knowledge Lab. So all students come together. Maybe that could be the solution to keeping the disciplines as they are. But I think whatever will result from this knowledge communal will shape whether we still want to keep the disciplines or not. That would be my answer to it.
Unfortunately, we are out of time, so we're going to go ahead and, actually, I don't know if there's going to be a little bit of a break or not.
Yes. How about we say 10 minutes?
All right.
I think that's right.
Thank you again to our panelists.